Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight to our first meeting of the year, and I would like to call this meeting to order. I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Oh,
An executive session? An executive session? I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to deal with what kind of issue? A potential litigation in executive session?
I second that.
roll call.
Yes.
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 Thank you. We will now have a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I second that.
Yes.
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 Motion has been seconded and approved. Now I need a motion to request approval of minutes from the December 19th, 2022 regular board meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the minutes from the December 19th, 2022 regular board meeting.
I second that.
Yes.
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 Thank you. Motion has been approved. Do we have any public input tonight? Thank you. We'll now have the financial report from the Chief Financial Officer.
Good evening to Chair Lindsay, members of the Commission Board. I'd like to begin tonight by providing you with an update of the General Enterprise Fund financials for the period of July 1, 2022 through December 31, 2022. Total revenues for the General Fund for the 6-month period were $2.4 million compared to $2.9 million around this time last year. Represents a $460,000 decrease in revenues, or approximately 16.1% decrease. Property tax revenue was the sole driver of decrease, as program revenue has increased. Decrease is due to the timing of property tax payments, as well as a decrease in the property tax revenue allocation for fiscal year 23. Please keep in mind RCRC receives the vast majority of property tax revenues during the final 2 quarters of the fiscal year. We did receive approximately a $5.7 million allocation today, which will be reflected in next month's report. Program revenues for the 6-month period were $413,000 compared to $365,000 around this time last year. Represents a $48,000 increase in revenues, or approximately 13% increase. Parks and rental, recreational, and athletic revenues were the largest drivers for this increase from this time last year. Total general fund expenditures for this period were $7.4 million compared to $7 million this time last year. Represents approximately 6.5% increase, or $450,000. The biggest driver for this increase would be fleet expenses. That includes fuel, repairs, and supply costs, and IT expenses. That would include the fees that we paid for Kronos licensing and supply increase for the RecTrack card readers. For the enterprise fund, Revenues for the current period were $499,000 compared to $521,000 this time last year. Represents approximately 4.3% decrease or $22,000. Membership and cart rental revenue were largely driving the decrease from this time last year. The dip in revenue that we saw for December did seem to correspond to colder than average temperatures that we encountered during the month of December. Enterprise fund expenditures for this period were $442,000 compared to $526,000 this time last year. Represents approximately 15.9% decrease or $84,000. Capital outlay expenses were the largest driver for this decrease, as well as general golf operating expenses. And I did want to add an update on the ARPA funding request that we made prior to the holidays. We are still waiting on word from County Council regarding approved projects for the ARPA funding. The timeline was pushed back for the funding position. County Council did receive a large amount of interest in the ARPA funding. And so the firm that they contracted out to evaluate proposals, they're still working on making their initial recommendations to the council. Were there any questions?
Okay, so you said we did receive a check today,
Yeah, we did.
so that should cover our debt.
Yeah. So we received a allocation for 5.7 million today. Just for comparison, in the last fiscal year in January, we received an allocation of 5.3 million. So the difference there was a positive 400,000, which is roughly the difference that we've been seeing in property tax allocation up until this point.
I'd like to know, I know we sold some of our fleet. Have we received the funds from that yet?
We're still waiting on the check for that. I believe we received a little north of $50,000.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. We have no unfinished business.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'd like to say something in unfinished business.
Can,
Um,
what are you addressing?
uh,
What's your question?
I moved that, well, for the record, I moved that, I get a copy of the, attorney's contracts. I've been there almost 2 years and I don't even have a copy of the attorney's contract.
Okay, the request will be taken. We have new business. RCRC in Richland County in a governmental maintenance agreement between Chadworth Connector.
Yes, Madam Chair. So the Chadsworth Pedestrian Connector is a project that's a 10 feet wide concrete path connecting Chadsworth Road and Brookfield Road. This project was a part of the Decker Boulevard Woodfield Park Master Plan, which was adopted by Richland County in 2007. This connector will provide a shorter, safe route for students to travel to Richland Northeast High School from the areas of Wood Lake Park and Huntington. It will be constructed along with the new sidewalks along the north side of Brookfield. Currently, there's already a trail going through the woods at that location where students are walking to school. As mentioned a few times last year, we have been working with Richland County to finalize an intergovernmental maintenance agreement. And so we do currently this evening have Mr. Michael Green, who's from Richland County Public Works, on the call in case you have any questions about the project. We are also working with Lawrence, who could not be here tonight, but he would like to just come to the board and explain a little bit more in reference to the maintenance agreement that you guys had received. So with this, I know it had action attached, but tonight I'm just requesting to be deferred either to another special call for further discussion with him or to our next board meeting. But we do have Mr. Green on the call if anybody had any questions in reference to the agreement and the paperwork that you guys have.
I believe this was a penny tax project. Is that correct, Mr. Green?
Is Ms.
Yes, ma'am. It's a Penny project.
Oh, there he is.
Did you hear me, Mr. Green? Can you
Yes,
hear me?
ma'am. I'm trying to answer.
Well,
I don't know if you can hear me.
Mr. Green, can you hear us?
I can, yeah.
So, can I ask you a question?
sure.
So, Mr. Green, when you guys were putting this agreement together for this project, was there ever I see that Richland County the Recreation Commission would be responsible for out-of-pocket expenses to repair and maintain the property of max out-of-pocket of $1,000 per occurrence. And I didn't know if there was a max, we would be willing to put a max annual exposure to Recreation Commission so we can at least budget properly for that item.
We haven't looked at a maintenance budget. Our charter allows us to build projects, but we have no funds set aside for maintenance.
And so we can discuss this with Lawrence and just make our request to you. I would like to see, just for public record, is some sort of, if we're going to be involved with this project, and I know we've talked about this for several years, is to have a maximum exposure on an annual basis for us so we can at least budget properly within, whether it's $5,000 or $10,000, but at least we need to understand what our exposure could be.
I would
That'd be-
also,
And just to share with the board, I've seen previous documents on, because I wasn't here at the top of this project as they was getting together, but I've seen on the previous document anywhere from 10 to 15 to just maybe maintain. And that includes staff time, any equipment, any supplies. So we're going to be working on our budget here soon, so we can discuss that and incorporate that.
Yeah, it's just replacement and repair of, the maintenance stuff is probably fine because that'll get funded through the county, enhancing our budget. But for replacement and repairs, I'd like to see a max out-of-pocket exposure to the commission.
I would like to have a meeting with county council representatives and Recreation Commission to see exactly the price and the cost of what they're asking us to do. And we should have a meeting and have it in writing along with our attorney and their project people. So maybe set it up for next month. And we can have a meeting like we've had before at county council or either over here. So we can all get on to see exactly what we need to do before this is signed. So this will be deferred tonight. Any other questions regarding this?
They did put in a lot of stuff that we'd asked them to do on the last meeting, just so you know, we'd asked for call boxes, security, and all that stuff has
Right.
been incorporated in.
But they don't have any costs or prices.
I mean, they're paying for it.
Well, that's why we need to know for sure.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll set up a meeting with county council and for discussion with our legal team and their legal team, engineers, Mr. Green, and whoever else is involved. Okay, other business, Ms. Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you.
While we do business, I'd like to recognize Ms. Melinda Anderson. She's a former board member from Richland District 2 over 30 years. Recognize her.
Thank you for coming. It's nice to meet you. And please come back again Okay. Now, director's report.
Okay, so we have, for my report, we have project updates, Coffin Road Park, the canteen, we have the plumbing issues were resolved. We're in the process of getting the electrical, work up to code, and then the cabinets will be installed. For the picnic shelter, the roof of the shelter was torn down and will be rebuilt. At Friarsgate Park, due to some safety issues, we had to torn down the picnic shelter, and that will be rebuilt. At Killian Park, the sidewalks were expanded.
Can you let me know when that will be rebuilt?
for-
Can you let me know when your estimated time frame for that to be rebuilt? What is it?
do you know? We're still. I can keep you updated on when we're as our progress is.
What was wrong with it?
What was wrong? It was, I know,
I can't hear you guys.
Safety concerns. Can you come up? Thank you.
Council members, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm George Person. I'm the safety officer of the Richland County Recreation Commission. So based off of the safety concerns about that thing, the posts were dry rotted and cracked. The frame of the roof and the truss were not being supported correctly. So that's when we had to concertina it off. And then once that happened, based off of the amount of damage that was to it, that's why it had to be taken down.
So that was in the pavilion. Where did you say that was located?
On the right side, behind the by the accession stand.
Mhm.
That was the one that was taped off for the longest time.
Okay, got you. But we don't have an estimated time of.
As of right now, so the manpower to get it built. So we're working on other ones also to get fixed, because this is not the only one within the county that has issues that need to be addressed. That one was a major safety concern, which had to be teared down so that there wouldn't be any kind of injuries in that location. So based off of that, priorities have gone to the ones that we can work on now. And then once we get the manpower and stuff, that one will be done.
What purpose did it serve?
That was there prior to me being there. So it was one of the picnic areas where people would sit underneath. There was a picnic table underneath there.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Do you recommend that one to be built? Another one to be built there, or is there other like areas that they can have picnics under shelters, or does it,
I mean,
I don't know, because I'm,
right. So it is nice. It was nice for another shade area to be built. So my recommendation, especially for that side of the field, that one will need to be replaced. The other sides have their own. For that side, for shade and other buildings, I would think they need to be done.
You called it a pavilion?
I call them pavilions, yes.
Okay, gotcha. I just think it would be good to give them or us a timeline, just so we can not forget about that. I know that there's probably many that need to be rebuilt, but if we're going to do it, I think that there should be a timeline of when they expect that to be rebuilt, or when you guys expect that, whether it's a year, 6 months, I don't know.
Right, and that like was previously stated, a lot of it has to do with the manpower. Due to the manpower that we have here, we're only able to focus on the ones that we can fix right now. So that way we can address those concerns right now. Once we get all this done, because remember we have over 42 facilities within Richland County. So each one of those facilities, to include private parks, have pavilions that have to be upgraded.
Thank you.
Thank you.
do you think it would be wise to, I don't quite understand that line item for capital, or I don't know if it'd be a capital expenditure or repair. But have we looked at helping them outsource? Maybe if that's a major one, that'll take up so many hours just getting a bid for somebody to build it quickly, or whatever. And then maybe there's other ones that, what I'm saying, that because to build one versus repair one can take a lot more time. So I'm just wondering
Correct, and I know
what's the
that,
smartest way to do it.
yeah, and I have heard about it, the possibility of maybe using a third party to rebuild one. But that will fall underneath the property management side. My recommendations are for the safety and securities of the areas,
Right.
not for the buildings.
So who would be in charge of that?
Probably.
So property management is Ms. Todd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you let, so Ty, will you let us know what you guys are going to be planning with that?
Good evening, board. I would have to get with Ryan to discuss the capital improvement because of the funding, to find out what funding we have to use a third party. And I would hate to give an estimate because with that community, when you give an estimate and we're not finished within that timeline, then it's always another issue. So I hate to just throw dates out. So when I start on that project, I will let you know, date when we'll get started on that project. But as of right now, because we have Blythewood concession as well that had damage, and we have to complete that project as well. So I will get with Ryan on capital improvements, money from capital improvements to go with a third party.
Thank you.
Even though this Friars Gate place is her neighborhood, that don't mean she gets the front of everybody else because she's a board
Correct.
member. That don't work like that.
No, sir, absolutely not. 'Cause
No, we look at all of our projects and the funding that we have and what can we get done at that time with what we have.
correct.
Thank you, Ms. Ty.
And we try to tackle our safety, issues and just get them down to a minimum where we saw that the picnic shelter needed to be torn down. We don't want kids going out there, things falling on them and stuff like that. So.
Well, I mean, everybody's point on this commission that raised it. I'm just looking at the report that you're giving, Tamika, and it looks to me like, Tiana, that there's buildings that could be completely redone. Sounds like from the safety side that we're on top of that. It's easy to demo and tear down generally,
Correct.
but to rebuild, it's a whole different project.
Yeah,
So
and it takes time. Yeah.
repairing is one thing, but a complete rebuild is another.
Correct. And the roofing at Kaufman, it was a repair. We didn't have to tear the whole shelter down at the Kaufman.
Oh, just it says the roof and shelter was torn down and will be rebuilt in the report here.
It was the roofing on the shelter, not
So
the
that would
entire
cover that.
shelter,
Okay, so just
just the roofing portion.
the roof part.
Yes, and that's
Okay.
completed.
All right.
That's it. Kaufman. I mean,
Right.
Kaufman, I'm sorry, Kaufman.
Thank you.
Continuing on at Killian Park, the sidewalks were expanded for ADA accessibility. At Blythewood Park, the concession stand was closed off due to the water damage over the holidays, as Tiana mentioned. So staff are working on getting the concession stand fixed. HVACs have been installed at Valentine Community Center, James Claiborne Technology Center, and Denny Terrace over the sheriff's office area. And then the additional roofing updates we had was Meadow Lake is now complete. Other items, we are still working on accreditation information. Again, that visit will be scheduled for May 30th through June 2nd, 2023. And as the chair asked the question earlier about the vehicles, all of the vehicles that were sent to state auction were sold, and we received $51,213.61
So
for those
have received the
vehicles.
funds. We've received the funds from that.
Yes, that's what we'll be receiving that amount back.
That is.
We haven't received a check, but it's coming.
Yes. All
Okay. Thank you very much.
right. That ends my report.
We will now have the Community Relations Manager report.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners. I'd like to say Happy New Year. This is our first official meeting, but we did have a special call, so Happy New Year.
Thank you.
On January the 18th, we had a community health and wellness fair that was held at St. Andrews Park. It was an opportunity for the community to come out to get some information. We'd like to say thank you to Miss Yvonne Motts and Octavia Morgan for this event. They were the hosts. We had several vendors, Healthy Blue, South Carolina American Heart Association, Humana, Palmetto AIDS Life Support Services, and South Carolina Thrive, just to name a few. So thank you to Miss E and to Miss Octavia. On this past Saturday at Pine Grove Community Center, at 12 o'clock, they hosted a repack, the backpack drive-through. RCRC provided much needed school supplies for the children in the community. So I'd like to say thank you to Miss Erica, Miss Sunshine Eskew at Pine Grove. On this past Sunday, excuse me, there's an error that's there, at St. Andrews Park, we hosted the basketball skills and drills clinic. The 2-hour skills and drills clinic tested the abilities of youth in Richland County. This clinic was co-ed for children ages 5 to 14, and the admission was free. Everyone from the nominees, participants, parents, volunteers, and staff enjoyed the event. It was sponsored by Richland County, Councilman Derek Pugh, Pepsi, and PDQ. We'd like to say a special thanks to our staff that showed up on a Sunday. That was Mr. Chris, Kareem, Connie, Tayana, Miss E, Rayshawn, Sherry, Leslie, Tavares, Quincy, Josh, Ira, Ladante, and a very special thanks to Miss Lisa Lewis Hutcherson. We had over 87 kids to participate, and Councilman Pugh and Councilman Barron were also in attendance. So I'd like to say thank you. Our upcoming events, we have Gang Awareness Hoop Fest that's also happening at St. Andrews Park this upcoming Saturday, which is January the 28th. We have a blood drive that will be held at St. Andrews Park on February the 9th. The Love Bug Affair will be held on February the 10th at Polo Road Park. Bless Your Heart will be held on February the 13th at Bluff Road Park. The Sweetheart Ball will be held on February the 14th at Gonis Ferry Adult Activity Center. And we'll have a Sweetheart Dance on February 17th at North Springs Park. And we'll have a Black History Academy Bowl on February the 18th at Denny Terrace Community Center, Denny Terrace Gym, excuse me. And for a complete list of our activities, we have our game plan that's readily available on our website, and that's the January through April edition. So for a complete list, you can go to our website.
Thank you very much. It seems like February will be a very busy month. I'm sure you appreciate it. Thank you. Need a motion to go in executive session.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
Second?
Commissioner McKee,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsey,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Marble.
Yeah.
Motion approved.
We will now have an announcement.
Everyone knows that viewing documents the storage for executive director for some weeks. And I'd like to announce that we had 49 applicants. And we have reduced it, we being the commission, have reduced that to 4 finalists. Pursuant to state law, section 304013, those 4, it has to a minimum will be 3, but there are 4 finalists. Those 4 finalists, information, their names and information have to be made public. Because some of the information has to be redacted, like Social Security and others, we have to review the documents that we have to make sure that we redact and leave with that. Those documents and the name will be released by 2 o'clock tomorrow, pursuant to state law. If we released it tonight, we might inadvertently release information that is not properly released. But it is public, and it's under the Freedom of Information. We will comply completely with that. The process after that, of course, will be the interviews that the commission will do. There'll be vetting and backgrounding. Some vetting has occurred, but a deep dive vetting for each of the 4 applicants, the finalists, will occur. They likely would be meetings with the public, so the public could have input in this process. That, I think, is what I'd like for you to vote on tonight, is just that we have selected, we have narrowed it to 4 finalists. We will comply with the Freedom of Information by providing the names and the information that we have, so that, as you know, we receive applications and internal documents about each one. The attorneys will make sure that we have complied with the Freedom of Information and releasing it by 2 o'clock, but also by redacting Social Security numbers or any of the other prescribed things under that code section 3040 A13. And if you just move to confirm that, that would be the motion I would make, that we've narrowed it to 4 and we'll release it by 2 o'clock tomorrow pursuant to the Freedom of Information.
I need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to accept council's motion.
I second that.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Motion has been seconded and approved. Now we need a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Yes.
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 Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight.